Good morning, good afternoon, whatever time of day it is that you are listening, folks. Thank you very, very much for listening today. Today is the 21st of July, year of our Lord 2020-25. Welcome to yet another edition of the Coping Hour, hosted by Nicholas Hinkle, a.k.a. Motown Noah. Boy, oh boy, have I been just absolutely dejected from anything. My own reality is maybe the way to phrase it for the last week. Since we taped a show on Sunday, I let you guys know, hey, there's some stuff going on. I'm just not having a good time. And then Friday came around, we taped a show. I was like, and then a week goes by, and I'm like, Go ahead, look at the timestamps today. Use them to your advantage. Maybe you'll make a swift exit. We're not talking about. There's nothing going on, and it's not even that there's nothing going on. It's that I don't care. I mean, if I'm going to do a segment on something, I really got to care about it. You know what I mean? I just don't right now. Whatever. Okay. But Nick, Donald Trump, there's something going on with his veins. His ankles are the size of tree trunks, Yao Ming style, which is a whole nother thing to cover. A mental blunder, a false memory that occurred in the previous episode, Yao Ming. Maybe we'll talk about that. I don't know. I don't care. Oh, Nick, Donald Trump, he's sick right now. Yep. Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, I heard about that. Look, we cover all the biggest stories, and we like to cover them from all angles. Okay, so Donald Trump is sick. What's the story there? I don't know. I think it's interesting that they said anything at all. I think that's interesting because Vladimir Putin has had on and off health issues for the last 10 years. And like once a year, you'll hear somebody be like, it's Parkinson's. He's got Parkinson's. Because you'll see him trying to like control like a tremor or something like under a table. Or I don't remember what year this would have been. I remember very vividly there was something that came out where he was just like gripping the leg of a table and would not let go of it. And people speculated it was because if he let go of it, then you would see how much his hand was shaking. You could also argue, then why would they not frame the shot a little bit differently? So I don't know. Maybe it's Vladimir Putin. Oh, he's not like the most aggressive guy in the world. Maybe he just likes to hold tables. Bitch, shut up. What is this? Is this in defense of Vladimir Putin not having Parkinson's? I don't care if he has Parkinson's. Maybe he does. Be funny if he did, honestly. Probably be a lot looser if he did. That's not true. Hitler pretty famously in the last days of the Third Reich had Parkinson's. But, well, did he have Parkinson's or was he just tweaking? Because there's the very, very famous clip at this point when the Olympics were in Munich and Jesse Owens was like, what's up, Nazis? I'm going to beat everybody and there's nothing you can do about it. USA. There's a pretty famous clip of him just like going like this, very visual of what I'm doing, but he's just like going nuts watching the Olympics, which pretty relate. Nope. No. Whoa. No. I don't want to look at anything that he does and be like, yeah, oh my God, he's so real. Oh, yes, queen. I'm not even going to say, I don't want to say it. I'm just going to say it. I was going to say, I don't want to say that. I'm not Kanye. That's a whole nother thing. We've gotten emails about like, oh, I learned like a month or two after the fact that Kanye made a song where he like sampled some chant or speech or something. Was it from Hitler? I don't know. I don't know, because at this point, so divisive, that guy. I mean, at this point, it's either you're like, fuck that guy and literally who cares what he does ever and everything that is happening to him he deserves to happen to him. Or you're like, wow, it's really too bad to see a guy who was held in such high regard just have this fall from grace. Don't care. He got booed in China. People were like, we want our money back. We want our money back. Because he was like 45 minutes late to a show. And I guess in China, it doesn't matter if you're late. Like if I'm throwing out an arbitrary number here, but like if the curfew is 10 p.m. for the concert, no matter what, like even if the guy doesn't show up till 9:30 p.m., you're done at 10. So like people were really pissed. Show up 45 minutes late. It was 45 minutes you could have been performing. I guess the performance was also riddled with a bunch of issues. I guess he also did the Hitler song, and he said he changed the words or something. I don't care. It really doesn't matter. Hitler tweaking at the Olympics. Well, how do you make the point that I'm trying to make? Well, if I'm at a sporting event and in my ideal world, where I have zero responsibilities and there's zero consequence to my actions. I don't know. I'd love to be like hopped up on some shit. I don't know. It'd be fun. I don't know. So what's the take there? I don't know. We're going to move on to something else. So Trump is sick. Okay. I guess it's funny. I mean, but it's not, again, it's not really a story. It's interesting that the White House said anything about it at all, considering they're, like, tactically, they just kind of deflect, unless the argument that you want to make is that the reason that Carolyn Leavitt, the press secretary, even made this announcement in the first place, was it a sympathy card? Are they really just throwing everything, like the entire kitchen sink, in order to get people to stop talking about the Epstein thing? Is that what it is? So if they say, well, he's sick, and they're putting like makeup on his hands to cover up all the bruising. Carolyn Leavitt had a line. She said, again, the press secretary, she was like, Donald Trump's hands are bruised because he shakes so many people's hands. That's a great lie. It's a hilarious lie. Love it. Also, kind of makes sense for him, because if you've ever watched Donald Trump shake somebody's hand, he does the, again, very visual what I'm doing here, but he yanks, he pulls you in, right? So when it's a super big power move by him, big alpha brain that Donald John Trump has. Oh, he's sick and his veins are clogged to fuck. No shit, dude. He's been like lacing his Big Macs, his 5 Big Macs that he eats every single day for the last 40 years with 500 milligrams of amphetamines. No shit. And then he washes that down with 10 Diet Cokes. Every single day, that's what he does. No shit, his body doesn't work. No fucking kidding, it doesn't work. But then it's also like, okay, well, look, we all kind of collectively were like, it's weird that the Dems were just like weekend at Bernie's-ing Joe Biden for like 4 years. It's pretty weird that they did that. And that's why some would argue that they deserve to lose, because it's like, if you're going to do that and then you're going to try to spend $1 billion in 100 days, when he decided that he was like, oh, I'm not doing it anymore. And it's fucking July, bro. And it's like the election is in 4 months, and now you're like, nah, I'm not doing it. Shame on them, and they deserve to lose. If the consequence is Donald Trump winning again, well, you fucking, you should have had the foresight to have seen that coming. But you didn't, because you're a bunch of fucking losers. And then they prop up this candidate. Did you guys see this story? I don't care about any of this. Did you guys see the story? You know that I hate, it's the lowest form of content, and I hate that this is even a thing. So there's like an internet series that's in the last year has gained a lot of popularity. It's like Subway Hot Takes or some bullshit like that, where it's literally just a guy in the subway in New York, and he interviews celebrities and they have to give their hot takes. Really famous people do this. Like, didn't Meryl Streep do one? Like, people who don't really do these types of gimmicky interviews will do them, right? It's hack shit, and I don't think it's good content, but people watch it. So I guess Kamala did an interview with this guy. It's unknowable how long it was, but it recently came to light that it never aired because her take was so confusing and weird that they were, and the guy, the host, I don't know his name off the top of my head again because he's a fucking hack and I don't care. Even he, I guess, in real time, like, reacted poorly to it, and he was like, "What are you talking about? What was the take?" She said, her hot take, Kamala Harris, the Democratic nominee for the 2024 presidential election here in the United States, her hot take was that bacon is a spice. Funny, I guess, but I didn't know you were. It would be so much different if she was branding herself as funny, but she wasn't, and so it just didn't really make any sense. And then, like, she went on Colbert, and this did air. She went on Colbert, and he, like, opened a Miller High Life with her, and she had a moment where she could have been so cool, and she just, like, hammered the beer, or drank it at all. She, like, cracked it, took a little sip, never touched it again. I don't want to vote for you. I did end up voting for her, but I was like, but I'm doing it because I think it's the quote unquote right thing to do. At the time, I felt like I had a responsibility to vote for her, even if I thought she was a horrible candidate and I didn't want to, right? Don't care about any of it, though. It literally doesn't matter. Who fucking cares? Stephen Colbert, speaking of, got canceled this week by CBS. so much conversation about this. Oh, well, he's, the show costs $100 million to make every single year, but they lose $40 million. Okay. All right, so he deserved to be out of the job. Okay. Well, you don't think that we have enough late night TV hosts who are like Orange Man bad? You think we need more of that? I don't know. I guess maybe we don't. But it couldn't have been Fallon, is maybe what my question is. It couldn't have been Jimmy Fallon. Donald Trump was like, oh, I'm surprised it wasn't Kimmel. I'm surprised it wasn't him. I suspect he'll be next. Which is the sort of the B story to this whole thing, or rather the other side of the coin of this whole thing, which is if you're not the person who's like, well, they lose $40 million every year, then you're blaming Trump for this because he's cutting public funding, like for broadcast services. Yeah, I guess, and suppressing voices who are like opposed to him. Yeah, man, that's that's what 70 million people voted for. Yep. I don't know. I don't care. It sucks because I think Colbert was the one that I liked the most out of all the late night guys, and so that stinks. And so by the time he gets canceled, his last show will be May of 2026. I'll be a little sad about it because I just think he's the best. I think the interviews he does, he handles foreigners a little weird. He's always like so blown away by the idea that somebody's culture is not like American, which is weird because he's a smart guy, and I don't think he's actually blown away by it. But the way that he handles interviews sometimes it's a little bit strange. Don't care about it though. Literally doesn't matter. What else is going on in the world? Well, you talk about like, whoa, they're losing $40 million a year. There's a whole thing going on in the WNBA right now. They just had their All-Star weekend, and he had all the ladies show up and like, pay us what you owe us. They opted out of the fucking CBA or something. Don't know what's going on over there. Pay us what you owe us. Well, first of all, the people who are throwing out these numbers like it's empirical fact about like the finances of the WNBA, dog, we don't know. Like we actually don't know. There's never really been that transparent of reporting that happens in terms of, again, the finances of the WNBA. I would be pretty surprised if they're losing money. If they're hemorrhaging money the way that the people who are opposed to women in this league just like getting paid more, it's sort of I don't know. I don't see. I already lost where I was going with this because I don't fucking care about this. Like, it's the league has essentially turned into a proxy war for like race, and the people who are like, oh, I love Caitlin Clark, couldn't tell you a damn thing about Caitlin Clark and how good she's been. And then the people who like medium know a little bit about Caitlin Clark will just talk about her turnover numbers. Or they'll talk about Angel Reese and her fucking me bounds and the Andre Drummond shit that she pulls off, which is true. That's not like hate or shit. That is just kind of a thing that she does where it's like, are you intentionally missing just to juice your numbers? But it's also super like you're just ignoring the actual game if you think that Angel Reese stinks because she doesn't stink. Meanwhile, it's like that's kind of the red flag. Like, in Inglourious Bastards when Michael Fassbender orders 3 glasses, and then I don't remember the actor's name, but the German guy, because Michael Fassbender does the 3 wrong, and Diane Kruger after the fact, she's like, this is the German 3, but Michael Fassbender I think went like this. Again, another visual thing that I'm doing here, but if you've seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about. My version of that in the WNBA is like, are those the first 2 people that you talk about? Because if those are the first 2 people that you're going to talk about, then I'm not going to fucking listen to you, right? Because the truth is, like, Asia Wilson in the last like 3 years has put up numbers that would suggest that she's the best player that has ever graced the fucking WNBA. Like, Candace Parker is my GOAT. She'll always be my GOAT. Won MVP in her rookie year, like 15 years ago. Will always be my GOAT. There's a real conversation to have that Asia Wilson is the best player that's ever played in the W. Not a fucking peep. By the way, Vegas Aces, like the consistently one of, if not the best team in the entire W. So, those same people like will have no idea how to say Sabrina Ionescu's last name. Nick, is that fair? Oh, it's not somebody's fault if they don't know how to say somebody's last name. You would get shot in the fucking head if you were talking about the NBA and you didn't know how to say somebody's last name, but you wanted to talk about them and they weren't like a rookie, right? Like, I don't know. What's a good example of a player? I don't need to think of an example in the NBA of a guy whose name is kind of hard to pronounce. Giannis Antetokounmpo, by the way, is a great example of this. It's not a great example because his last name is just hard as fuck. Well, no. Like, do you remember the first few years that Giannis was in the league? and people would only call him the Greek Freak because nobody had any idea how to say his last name outside of Milwaukee. And then, like, it's what's funny is as soon as he actually became the Greek Freak, then everybody knew his name. You know what I mean? Like, once he became, like, actually the Giannis that we know today, people stopped calling him the Greek Freak as, like, his main nomenclature, his main moniker. And they just started calling him Giannis, or they would just say Giannis Antetokounmpo, right? But, like, I don't... Who am I even arguing against right now, honestly? Ghosts. Well, it's just, it has nothing to do with the fact they're women. I just don't think it's good ball. Yeah, man, sometimes they go 5 minutes without scoring. It happens. It happens sometimes. But I don't know. It is an entertaining league. I wish they did more replays. That's something that I think the W could do well with. I don't know how many cameras they have operating at a single time in the W compared to the NBA. It's actually, I would be really interested to know that. How many cameras do you think are operating in the in an average NBA game, excluding the finals? I'm sure they got a couple more in there. It's the middle of January, and the Hawks are playing the Clippers. How many cameras do you think are there? 10? 10? I have no barometer for what it would be. Let's just say it's 10, right? I think it would be more than that, though. It would have to be more than that. There's actually a guy who listens to the show. I don't know how frequently he listens, but he's emailed into the show before. He's a camera operator at Guaranteed Rate, where the White Sox play. So he would be a good person to ask about this. It wouldn't be the same as it would be, for like the Bulls, but just as like a general number, I think that guy would know. So if you're listening, brother, will you please let me know? I don't think we'll ever talk about this again, to be honest with you, but I would personally like to know. So let's just throw out a number and let's just say it's 10. I swear to God, the W has like 5 at any given time. So that makes replays a lot harder. Also, they're just like choppier. I don't know. I don't know. But because all you see are the clips of Caitlin Clark talking to the ref, being like, "I'm gonna call the league office. I'm gonna call the league office because you're having a bad game." What's funny is the call that she was bitching about, literally like she was wrong. So it was whatever. But that's also for her the culmination of why I don't care. I don't care. So that's going on in the world. What else is going on in the world that I don't care about? Israel's expansion of territory and like this greater vision of a larger Israel. It's still happening. Not just in Gaza, but in Syria. Massively underreported here, at least in the United States. It was a couple of weeks ago. It was around the time, it was within the days following the United States bombing of uranium enrichment facilities in Iran, that the IDF rolled tanks into Syria. And then as of, I think that over this weekend, within the last couple of days, Israel was targeting essentially like the Syrian equivalent of the Pentagon. And the videos are pretty crazy. That was the thing that happened. Just unless you're watching like Al Jazeera, not really a thing that's going to be covered on like the Telegraph, or which isn't an American outlet, but like CNN or even Fox News, MSNBC, your local stations, CBS affiliates and otherwise. And just not really been a thing that you've seen that much about. Yep, that's going on. Israel's like, what if the Middle East was Israel? What if it was that? Yeah, sure. No, not sure, but I don't know. We're starting to see the Senate and Congress here in the U.S. They're doing the thing where they're like, anti-Semitism is anti-Zionism. And that's a pretty dangerous game to play. That's pretty scary. That's pretty scary. Especially when you consider the fact that just like as an abstraction, as an idea, Zionism has failed. For the last 60 years that it's been a thing, well, I'll put a hand up. I don't know how long it's actually been a thing. But I'm just saying, since Israel was boots on the ground, I'm sorry, holy shit, dude. Get your shit straight before you make this point. Okay, so after World War II, when you had this mass migration, the British left Israel, and they're like, hey, just come here. This idea of Zionism being like to protect all Jews and to keep them safe has failed. They've been in war constantly for the last 60 years. And you could make the argument that it's like, well, what are the outcomes of those wars? Well, they win. More often than not, pretty much always they win. Except in like who fucking cares, man? It's failed. If you're at war, then you're not keeping your people safe. Because then you're just led to brainwash them and to, trick them into joining the fucking IDF, man. And then if they don't join the IDF, then they go to jail. I don't know. Who cares? I don't care right now. None of this shit matters to me. I don't know. And I've just been in such a creative rut, and it's something that I just haven't been able to get out of. And the worst part about that creative rut is that, like, you know, when you're really into something and, you know, whatever it is that you're working on, maybe it's like something for school, or maybe it's something at your job, or it's a passion project, or like name a thing. It literally doesn't matter. You get a burst of creativity that kind of comes out of nowhere, and you maybe don't know what you're inspired by, or maybe you do. And for like a week or maybe 2 weeks, or for some of you, maybe it's just a couple days, like whatever the timeline on it is. And it's like, it's palpable. It's something that you can identify in real time. You're like, I'm on a heater. I have it right now. I have the juice, and I'm nailing everything that I want to do. So like for me right now, the example would be like music is kind of the only thing that in my spare time I've been hammering as like a creative frontier, right? And for like a week or two, nailing it. I was just on top of it. Every time I like sat down to record something, I was just nailing it, and I was really happy with everything. And I was like, I'm in it right now. And then just like that, it's gone. And it takes you a minute to realize that it's gone. Do you know what I mean? It might take you another week to realize like, oh, fuck, I don't have it anymore. That happened to me at the end of last week, where I was recording something and I was like, what's going on? This isn't good. Like, I don't know. It's not even like being in your head. It's just like you completely lose the juice. Like whatever rhythm you were in, you just kind of fall out of it, right? And then as soon as you realize that you don't have that rhythm anymore, you're just left with this feeling of, oh, okay, so I just have to wait for the next time that this creative burst comes along. It could be a month. It could be 6 months. Like, it's unknowable how long it could be until you actually have not even just like motivation, but like the fucking neurons in your brain are really firing on all cylinders in such a way that anything that you do respective to the thing that you're passionate about in this scenario, anything that you do is going to be like, oh, I'm doing it. And then once it's gone, it's gone. And then you just wait. And then you just twiddle your thumbs. And so I've just been trying to do anything that I can to care and to just like have real authentic passion. And I have not been able to do it. And it's been hard. It's really taking a toll on me outside of like a million other things. And so that has not been fun. And that's kind of a whole other thing. Is this just as if you've listened to the show for a long time, I really don't honestly like to talk about the music that I make all that much. I like to put it out, but I typically don't read the comments a ton when I put stuff out. And then I don't really like to, I'm never really going to promote it that much. Maybe we'll talk about it once and then that's kind of it. But this new project that I'm working on, me falling out of this creative rut, I'm now making like essentially two different projects because the stuff that I'm making now is not what I was making like 2 or 3 weeks ago. And I'm like, what's going on? That plot is completely gone and I have no idea what I'm doing anymore. And so that's been really frustrating. And otherwise, Digital Gemini, which will be out in probably December. It could be sooner than that. I don't know. But December is like it has to be by then. I don't know. I have probably like 8 minutes of it done. But the way that I do things is like, that's not 8 minutes is not 3 songs. That's like 8 or 9, because I love the idea of making something that sounds like you're listening to the radio. And so this constant jumping around and like blending everything together and making it sound like one coherent body of work. But it's like not somehow. And in doing that, like Data Leak was like 13 minutes, 14 minutes. I don't know. That was probably like 8 or 9 songs, somewhere in there. And I loved all of them. And the shit that was on the cutting room floor just had to be on the cutting room floor because it didn't make sense for it to be in there. And those are songs that'll just like never come out. But with Digital Gemini, it's just a whole different thing. I don't know what's going on with it anymore because the headspace that I've been in has just been. It's hard for that to not be reflected in anything that I'm doing because to reference the word that I used at the beginning, it is to me when I listen to it transparent in my dejection. And it's like, well, if you don't care about what you're making, then like, why am I going to consume it? And honestly, that's another thing. 3 emails since we taped our last show, which was like 3 days ago. 3 emails being like, I started a podcast and I did it because of you and, you know, blah, blah, blah. And they're all very, very nice emails. And I appreciated all of them. Right. And so I guess, like, I don't know, how do you get out of a creative rut? Well, my advice to you, if you are doing something as a creative mind that you know for a fact that other people are going to be hearing, I don't think you can, like, force yourself out of it. You really can't, because of what I just said, that if it comes through, like in a podcast, for example, and you want to start your own show, or you're making music, or you're whatever it is, right? I don't know what it is, but you get what I'm saying here. If you're doing something that, if your creative idea, your project is public facing, doing it just for the sake of doing it is hard, because 2 things can be true. Like, my favorite advice that I've ever been given and that I like to give to other people is very simple. You have to do it to have done it, right? Which is important. But just because you're doing it doesn't mean that it has to be like the final thing. You know what I mean? It's a test run. Do 100 test runs of whatever it is that you're doing. A, to get your mojo back if you're in one of those creative ruts, and B, to just like figure it out in your head. Like, okay, so how, like, structurally, like, how is this supposed to work? Because that's another thing. Honestly, this is a little bit more nitpicky, and this is a little bit more like, I don't think meta is the right word, but sort of like a niche thing that I'm about to complain about. But I get really irked by content creators and by actors, like real actors. I can think of one off the top of my head where I'm like, oh, you're not doing the thing that you think you're doing the mechanics of it, where you know what words you're supposed to say, but you're not using them right. You're just using them because, like, phonetically it sounds right. And like, when you use words that you're using because they have 4 syllables, 5 syllables, couple vowels, couple consonants, such as life, every single word in the fucking language of the world. But you get what I'm saying here? Like, there are actors who, like, mechanically understand, like, physical mannerisms and, like, speaking patterns. And I don't want to name the guy because I really like him and I don't want to be an asshole, but he's the same guy in everything that he's in because he does the mechanics of that thing. And I watch so many YouTubers, whether it's like full-length content or short-form content, where it's like, oh, you're not actually doing anything. You're just mechanically being a YouTuber, right? Like, whether you're doing the voice or whether it's the language that you're using, and don't even get me fucking started on the people who say unalived, or when they censor out the word killed or murdered. I don't want to say the real heavy one. I want to say rape. I don't want to yell that out. But, like, that's another one that people censor. I give that one a little bit more leeway because it is a very aggressive word. But also, like, in the context of maybe what you're talking about, like when people are talking about the Epstein shit and they censor out the word, like, killed himself. He unalived himself after graping. They'll put a fucking grape emoji in the closed captions. After graping a bunch of kids. But they'll also censor kids. Miss me with the bullshit about community guidelines and terms of service. Fuck you for not wanting to get demonetized, and fuck you for not wanting to get buried in the algorithm. So you soften up your language while you try to navigate this really difficult and super nuanced conversation, but but I don't care. copinghoursubs@gmail.com, spelled phonetically, email available in the description, wherever it is that you listen to this program. What one do we want to do here? Let's do this one from Olin. Brother, welcome back to the show. Subject line, U.S. Olympics / World Cup. Nick, what's up? What's up? That is actually how he wrote it. Back to the email. I'm listening to your newest episode, and you talked about how France nailed the Olympics. This raises the question of how you think the USA is going to do as hosts of 2 major world events coming up. If you remember when the U.S. hosted the Copa America a couple of years back, there was major trouble at Hard Rock with a bunch of people breaking into the stadium and overcrowding it. I think the U.S. has an inherent problem with how spread out it is. Not to mention, if they are playing at MetLife, there's going to be thousands of people migrating to and from the city. I imagine LA will have a similar issue. How do you foresee these events going down logistically? Would it make more sense to have the World Cup in one city with a couple stadiums rather than spread it out all over the place? Additionally, with clubs and managers complaining about playing in the Club World Cup and the poor ticket sales, I think that could be some foreshadowing, perhaps. By the way, here's my top 10 soccer players right now. This is in order, starting from 1, going down to 10. Dembele, Salah, Lamine Yamal, Kylian Mbappe, Erling Haaland, Saka, Virgil van Dijk, Jude Bellingham / Vinny Jr. Hate them, you said in parentheses, hate them both. They have to share a spot. Who's this? 9, Vitna? I don't know that name. Maybe if I saw his from PSG, I don't know that name. If I saw his, why is that name not ringing a bell for me? I don't even think I said it right. I don't know who that is. You said PSG are so good they need more than one guy here. And at 10, the other PSG guy, the keeper, Donnarumma. Allison from Liverpool, right? And Courtois. I don't know who that is. Courtois. Who does he play for? All goalies, matter of preference, who you think is better. Donnarumma is the best keeper in the world, but Allison, those are the two guys. I think those are the two best. I love that you put Dembele at number 1. That's really fun. One of the best goal scorers in Europe of all of last year. What's his first name? Osman? What's his first name? I like Dembele. PSG had, 3 guys on your list here? Hell yeah. Jude Bellingham sucks in FIFA. Every time I buy him, I end up selling him like 2 years later because he's not good in the game. He's a cover athlete. Why is he not good in the game? Don't tell me I don't know how to use him. I won 2 fucking Ballon d'Ors with Kvaratskhelia. Don't tell me I don't know how to use Bellingham. He stinks. He's a 0. Okay, so your actual question here, the Olympics and the World Cup. Yeah, so the World Cup coming to the United States next year. Also coming to Mexico and Canada. So it's basically like the North American World Cup. So it's not technically just us, but I understand what you're asking here, right? So we have the World Cup in 2026, and then in 2028, Summer Olympics in Los Angeles. I don't know how any of this is going to go, but let's talk about the World Cup first. I don't think it's going to go well. Ticket sales won't be a problem. The Club World Cup was kind of an anomaly. I don't know how it was sold to people outside of the United States, but they kind of just threw it on us in like April-ish, like late April, early May. They're like, hey, also don't forget to check out the Club World Cup. What is this? Oh, it's in America. Oh, the first ever Club World Cup. You guys should feel honored. Why? There's no like precedent for like how prestigious this is. You know what I mean? It also didn't make any damn sense, like the algorithms that they used to pick the teams that were competing. It made no damn sense. Did people eat it up? If you're a Chelsea fan, you ate it up. If you were a PSG supporter, you ate it up until the end. I mean, PSG was murdering everybody. What was the Real Madrid final? Was it 4 or 5-0? I think it was 4. I don't think Kvaratskhelia scored in that one. Did Dembele score in that one? I don't care. We didn't care, bro. We did not care because it was not explained like really what was going on with it. And then it was over. I did not watch a single game of it because I didn't think any of the players would care about it. But then Reddit was like, no, all these guys care about it. But I've completely flipped on Reddit. I just think most people on there are fucking losers. I finally caught up to those people who have always said that people on Reddit are losers. I think when I disagreed with that, I was like, well, it depends on the community that you're in. For the most part, actually, I would still agree with that. But no, 95% of the subreddits are just complete babies. No, I don't think, again, unless you're a Chelsea fan and you can cling to something. What did they just win? They won the... was it the Conference League that they just won? Who cares? Who cares? Good for Chelsea supporters for like having a reason to be like, see, Cole Palmer is still good. He's still good. Was like fine last year. He made like 100 penalties in a row. And then what was the Leicester keeper. What was his name? I like him a lot. He was the only guy that I thought tried. What was Hermanson? How do you say his last name? He's the only guy outside of like Jamie Vardy and like maybe Christensen that would actually try. And they were in London playing Chelsea, and he stopped a Cole Palmer penalty. Say that 5 times fast. Cole Palmer penalty. He actually stopped it. Wow! I think that was the first one that he had missed in a long time. The guy plays in slow motion. He has a bullshit ass haircut. But good for them. And so like, no, people didn't really go to it. People will go to the World Cup. You think, unless people like protest the idea of tourism in the United States. And then I also wonder the rude awakening that maybe some people are in for when they realize that we don't really have public transportation here. Like, it's not really a thing. Maybe if the powers that be decided that a game should be played in Chicago, which they fucking aren't. For some reason, they're not doing it. I don't know how that didn't happen, but they're not. We have public transportation here. It's probably one of the 3 best that we have in North America. Toronto, I think, has really good public transportation. Somebody can correct me on that because I don't know for sure. Obviously, New York is kind of the gold standard here in America, but Chicago is right there. There actually has been an interesting decline in usage of the CTA, the Chicago Transit Authority. Here in recent years, like since COVID, there's been a really interesting dip, and then it kind of started to go back up again. A lot of closures and stuff like that, and they're just like not expanding railways, and so a large portion of the city still doesn't really have access to it. But A, it is still mostly accessible, and B, especially when you compare it to anywhere else in the United States, like, yes, it is very good. Like in Los Angeles, you can go from like Santa Monica to like downtown Los Angeles, and like that's kind of, maybe they've expanded it since, I don't know, but it's not really, it's not and so that's why we're so dependent on like cars, because otherwise there's not really any way to get around. Sure, you can take a bus, but like I do remember when there was that the thing that happened at the Hard Rock. I do vaguely remember that. I remember some videos coming out of people just like it was like sort of like Travis Scott style. You had these huge surges in crowds and people getting pushed into fences and shit like that, and people going over fences and breaking through fences and overwhelming security and all that. And I don't know how the World Cup is going to go. Did they... I don't remember reading anything about this, but if somebody told me that this happened, I would believe it. Were ICE agents posted up outside of the locations of these games that were played in the Club World Cup? Because where did they play games? They played in Atlanta. I'm sure they played in Florida. I don't know for sure, though. Did they play in Philadelphia? I think they're playing the World Cup in Philadelphia. Like the actual World Cup, not this bullshit fake-ass woke Club World Cup. And then to the email's point, in MetLife, they played in New Jersey. It seems, if they played in Florida and ICE agents weren't there, I would be shocked. But that is something to... Do you keep an eye on that? Are you going to deport tourists who are here for the World Cup? That'd be pretty crazy, but we have a year until all of this stuff happens, and at the rate that we're going, the last 7 months of this guy's presidency have felt like 7 years, so... And then that, you know, the who knows where we're going to go with that. The Olympics happening in 2028 is really interesting because, I mean, we're only a few days removed from there being like 2,000 National Guard troops being removed from Los Angeles after like, how long had they been there? And if that's where they're going to be, Trump's not a big Los Angeles guy. And 2028, election year. Now, you're probably thinking, well, Nick, it's a second term. Yes. Yeah. I've really gone back and forth on that. Do I think he's going to bullshit his way into running again? I don't care. I don't fucking care. Whatever. I mean, Steve Bannon's logic and all of Trump's lawyers' logic publicly has been, well, the Constitution or the fucking whatever says that you can't run for more than 2 consecutive terms. And they're like, well, hey, our guy, DJT, served 1 term, and then he had a bye week for 4 years, and he didn't serve. And now he's serving again, which means he's eligible to run for re-election for a 2nd consecutive term. That's what he's allowed to do. Does that sound like bullshit? Yes. But if they continue at the pace that they're going and they continue to rip the wires out of the government and they dismantle the electorate, who fucking knows? 3 years from now, this is 3 years from now that we're talking about, a lot of shit can happen. So who knows, right? There are so many developments waiting to happen. I wouldn't be surprised if, do you remember when Trump was getting really fired up? Because he's like, Zelensky's a dictator. He's been the president for 100 years, and he's stopped all elections. And everybody was like, yes, jackass, that's because they've been at war for the last, however many years. And it's like Winston Churchill, like he also very famously was like, hey, we're not doing elections because the fucking blitz is happening right now. We're getting bombed every single night. So why don't we just like chill and focus on that right now? And everybody was like, yeah, that sounds like a good plan. Do you wonder if Trump's like banked and stored? That's a good idea. And then and we're at war with Iran or maybe China does something to Taiwan or who it's unknowable. Who knows? But if America is actively engaging in a conflict, do you think that because it would have to be taking place domestically is kind of the way that it goes. Like we didn't just get to do that in World War II, even though we were in the middle of fighting a war. It's like, well, yeah, it wasn't here that we were fighting the war, except for like one day in Pearl Harbor, December 7th, 1941, the one day that World War II was on America's doorstep, right? It would have to be taking place here. So unless I'm going sick and nasty and disgusting and I don't care. Does he like incite a civil war? I don't know. It's 3 years from now, bro. And let's say he doesn't do any of that, but he's still like running again somehow. At that point, how is he not dead? I don't know. I don't care. But the World Cup would be happening at the tail end of it, like concurrently with the RNC. So like, do you think whoever the candidate is, whether it's Trump or not, do you think they'll be like, what the hell? They like put up some charts, dude, at these Fox News like town hall debates. What the hell? You see, we got this surge of immigrants from the middle of June to the end of July. We got all these people coming in from all over around the world. They're flying planes full of people into the United States to take all your damn jobs. And then I don't know who would have to be. Sean Hannity has to be like, this joke fucking sucks. It's because of the World Cup. This joke sucks. I don't fucking care. How's it going to go? I don't know. I don't think it's going to, I don't know. It would be funny if just nobody's at any of these games. I don't care. It's just such a good email and I don't care. It doesn't fucking matter. Do we have the infrastructure to like pull off all of the, like, yes, we have the hotel space and we have a blah, 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 blah. Would we be better off having it in one city? Well, to be fair, none of the World Cups are really in one city, are they? Like when the last one was the last one in Qatar or was the last one in France? Whatever, those were the last two, right? So, those weren't in Qatar's not in France aren't cities. What am I talking about? No, well, shut up. I'm confused. I'm getting my wires crossed right now. Is any World Cup in one spot? I thought it's like the Olympics in that way, isn't it? Where, yes, the Olympics were like hosted by France, but specifically by Paris. But like surfing is a thing in the Summer Olympics. You can't really surf in Paris, so they were going somewhere on the coast in like the Northwest. They got to do shit like that where it's not all, or like even, well, I was going to say beach volleyball, but I forgot. They actually, see, this is another reason why I think that the French did such a damn good job with the Olympics is like the beach volleyball. They just like made a court in front of the Eiffel Tower. And so the scene was like, you have these motherfuckers like bop, bop, bop with their hands. But the backdrop of it was just the Eiffel Tower. That's so cool, especially when you contextualize, like we covered in the last episode. If you got a gold medal, like a piece of the Eiffel Tower was inside of the medal. That's so cool. So it's like, if you win gold, you can just like look up and you're like, that's me. I'm literally going to be wearing the Eiffel Tower for the rest of my life. That's really, really cool. Right? I think if there's any city in America that will make the Olympics cool, it would be Los Angeles. That's where everything cool happens. It's where the movies are made. It's where that's where the magic happens, so to speak, copinghoursubs@gmail.com, spelled phonetically. Email available in the description. Wherever it is that you listen to this program. We got an email here. I don't even, you want to talk about one that it's not even that I don't care. I have no fucking idea what to say to this. This one comes in from Sam. Sam, welcome back to the show. Subject line: Mount Rushmore of white guy ego boosts. You said no context, but would love some input. Number one, this is the Mount Rushmore of white guy ego boosts. Number one, having a kid that plays D3 athletics. Number two, being told you have nice hair at Great Clips. Number three, explaining a 401k / finance in general, like finance in general, to somebody. Or number four, getting your email read on a podcast. Your honorable mentions: low golf handicap, having a reputation of being early to things. Fuck, that's a good one. Whoa, is that a mini? Hold on, that's a microaggression. Hold on, check your fucking privilege, bro. If you say, wait. If the context of this list is Mount Rushmore of white guy ego boosts, denoting race and saying they're white, and you put having a reputation of being early to things, is that only... I know what you're saying. You thought you could slip that one in there? And how does that reflect on me? I was like, fuck, that's a good one. What does that mean, Nick? What does that mean? The third one, being commended on your aux ability. And then in quotes, you said, so fire, bro, unquote. Your last honorable mention was what you just said, gun license. So as a white person, it's a white guy, not just a white person, a white man. And as an ego boost is just obtaining a license to purchase a firearm. That boosts your ego. You feel better about yourself that you're armed. And not like safer. That's not what you said. You said ego boost. Look, I don't know. I've never held a weapon before, like a real capital F firearm before, let alone discharged one. They'd make me really nervous, right? If I obtained a permit, a license to purchase one of these man killers, would that do something to my ego? Oh boy, man, I don't know what and the being early to things. One, it is nice when people acknowledge your punctuality. I completely agree with that one. It's the context of sort of how you framed this whole thing and then saying that is very funny to me, though. Because as somebody who, like, I'll get to a movie starts at 2:00. I know that with previews, the movie's not actually starting until like 2:30. You know what I mean? Don't care. I'm there at 1:30. I want to watch, because I go to AMC, so like I want to watch, what's her name? Maria Menounos. I want to watch her give me some like Nuvi trivia, you know? And it'll be like, what movie is this guy from? And it's Bruce Willis, and it's clearly from Die Hard. He's like in a shaft with like a lighter. And you're like, Die Hard! But you get it right. You're like, yay! And then she's like, who is this guy? And it's Sylvester Stallone with a fucking bandolier with his shirt off, a bandolier around his neck. His shirt is off. He's got a damn headband on, and he's dual wielding M60s, right? Rambo. And she's like, that's right, it's Rambo. It's literally Miss Rachel for adults is watching this shit when I go to AMC. Low golf handicap. Yeah, I guess. That's at least an actual ego boost, but I still don't really understand like how the handicap thing even works. I like watching golf more than I like playing it. I like playing golf video games more than I like actually playing it. I'm just not good at it. Literally the hand-eye coordination and actually hitting the ball has always been really hard for me, and I just get pissed off. And I love to sit in the cart. Love being a passenger princess in a golf cart, or I'll drive the cart. I'll caddy. That's what I'll do. I'd love to caddy for someone, but I just can't. I just can't play golf, which is really too bad. Having a kid that plays D3 athletics. That's probably a really good one. That's probably a really good one. Being told you have nice hair at Great Clips. Good job saying Great Clips. That's a yeah. Yeah, but I haven't paid for a haircut in my entire life ever. The last time I got a haircut that was paid for by like my mom was 2000, maybe like 10 or 11. So it's been a long time because I just have women in my life that will cut my hair. Or I don't need them to cut my hair and I just shave it, which I can do by myself. I just get the clippers. So that one, unfortunately, also not very relatable to me, much like the golf one. But I do acknowledge your reality here, Sam. Explaining a 401k, I would say to you that I would love if you did it. I would love if you explained it to me. Don't fucking do it because I don't want to read that email. I don't want to. I don't want to know. La, 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 la. I don't work a real job. Maddie was explaining to me something the other day. She knows somebody. It's like a compound pharmacy, something like that. Compounding pharmacy. I don't remember what it is. There's a pharmacy where you basically just call them and you're like, hey, I need this cream for my muscles and I want it to be this percent of like this extract and this percent of these minerals and this percent of these chemicals or whatever. You basically it's like a create a player but for drugs, and they're just like, okay, cool. And the person that she knows that has access to this type of pharmacy was like, yeah, just let me know anything that you need, I'll get it for you. And I was like, oh, okay, Klonopin, maybe some Ritalin, maybe some Valium or something like that. She's like, what the fuck? What are you talking about? And I was like, well, if I'm gonna do the housewife life, you know what I mean. If that's gonna be like my identity is I'm a house husband, then like I might as well start getting addicted to opiates. He says in jest, and would be too scared to actually do. I'm saying this so that my grandma doesn't think that I'm gonna start taking drugs. I'm not gonna start doing that, Grandma. I'll still smoke weed for probably the rest of my life, but so does Matthew. So it's just a thing that the kids do. Don't know why I'm saying, but I'm never gonna do hard drugs, Grandma. I'm not gonna form an opioid addiction at 27. That sounds lame. That sounds so lame. I'm not 19. It'd be funny to do it then. It wouldn't be funny, Grandma. Now you said at the end of this, Sam, on another note, I listened to your whole Epstein Trump episode. I don't know, man. I guess I'm just apathetic. Not to the victims. That part is terrible, and I understand further justice is needed. But I'm mainly referring to the fact that we'll never know what exactly went down or who was involved. I try to live my life being correctable, so I'm just wondering, why should I care? I'm not on social media, and I work remote, so my exposure is pretty limited. The world of politicians/famous people just seems so far removed from any air I'll ever get a whiff of. I guess I'm just looking for someone's best shot to wake me up if I'm sleeping through this part of life. Well, like the easiest way to package this is if the most influential people in the entire world are all in on the same like sex trafficking ring and they all participate in like child rape, maybe something to... I understand you said you're not apathetic to the victims, but like those are people that, like, if you think about Donald Trump, right? He fucking drew Jeffrey Epstein a stick figure. It was like, remember when we had sex with that 15-year-old? That was awesome. And then he sent that letter. He just sent that to Jeffrey Epstein. Oh, okay. 70 million people just voted for that guy. Like, again, I don't think it was 70 this time around. That was the Joe Biden one. But like in his presidential career, him running for president, which he's done 3 times, he's accumulated like almost 200 million votes. So like at 200 million times, people have been like, that's my fucking guy. I don't know. I don't know. I don't fucking care. I don't care. You're right, Sam. This doesn't matter. Whatever. Who cares? Steve Bannon was right all along. It all comes back to Steve Bannon. We mentioned him once in this episode. What was his role been for Trump in the past? I don't know. Is he fucking like a chief strategist, as minister of propaganda, of which Trump has several dozen of those? And most notably like Stephen Miller and, again, Carolyn Levitt. Pam Bondi. Pam Bondi, I think, has been relegated to the B team because he's just been contradicting the shit out of her recently. No, but Steve Bannon, a real thing that he said, by the way, this is not like conjecture. This is a real thing that he said into a microphone where he was like, our plan for this second term with Donald Trump is to the same as it was for the first one, which is to just like overwhelm and demoralize the public because the news, the quote unquote mainstream media, can only focus on how many stories at a time? 3. Probably like 3 stories that they can bounce around from. So if we spend the first 3 months of the presidency in an absolute avalanche where we sign executive order after executive order after executive order, you rip the wires out of the government, you cut spending for like Social Security and financial safety nets and fucking healthcare and shit like that. There's so much to talk about. There's so much to focus on. And you, as the everyday citizen, what are you supposed to do about it? You can organize and you can go do your protests, and which is very honorable, and I think people should be doing those things. But the point of what they're doing is to run you into the fucking ground so that anytime you see, oh, this new bad thing that Trump did, you're just kind of like, okay, whatever, you know? It's like what we talked about in an episode or 2 ago, how the IDF got caught lacing bags of flour with opioids so that these people would get like addicted to drugs thinking that they're just eating like regular fucking bread. And then while they were doing that, while they're in the middle of creating this man-made famine, they're firing tanks into crowds of people trying to collect these bags of flour. So even if you're lucky enough to get a bag of flour, guess what? Get ready to learn drug addiction, buddy. You see shit like that, and you're like, yeah, 36 more people died. Yep, sounds about fucking right. Doesn't mean it's not horrible. Doesn't mean, but I don't like the way that this is coming off, but I hope you get what I'm saying. Like, there's a method to this. It's a tactic. And then you have Netanyahu just most like recently. Was it Hannity that? No, it wasn't Hannity. I don't remember who he was talking to. But he was like, we as the Israelis are now entering a new phase of the war where we are now shifting our attention to battling misinformation. Oh, fuck. Here it comes. This is the same government, by the way, that they bombed a hospital in Gaza. And then we're like, they just deflected. And they're like, what are you talking? They gaslit the world. And we're like, that wasn't us. What are you fucking talking about? That was Hamas. They did that to themselves. That was jihadists. That's who that was. These were terrorists. Their missiles, their rockets misfired and it accidentally hit the hospital. Shit like that. You know, do you wonder why maybe there's a reason that, I don't know. Don't care. I don't think that is going to help you at all. But I think that you should care about this because if you just let the government tell you this bold-faced lie, then there's nothing that I think you will care about. And this isn't like about, I don't know, you and I have nothing to do with this story, right? But I do think that we have a responsibility to not let it go away. And I think that you're seeing Donald Trump do absolutely everything he can to make this shit go away. Like him beefing with Rosie O'Donnell and people treating that like it's the scariest thing in the world. Sure, because he's thinking about like revoking Rosie O'Donnell's citizenship. First of all, he's just saying shit. Well, I mean, he might actually do it. But second of all, I don't know. Yeah, it sets a super dangerous precedent if Donald Trump is just like, what if I just, an American citizen, what if I was just like, nope, you're not a citizen anymore, and you just took that away from them? So that's a very, very scary precedent. But it is funny in the context of it happening to her only because he's hated her forever, like for no reason. Even when Trump was hilarious on Twitter like 15 years ago and he had nothing to do with anything, he was just a TV host, like a really sassy bitch on TV, and it was just funny. He would just like randomly on a Tuesday morning, like with his morning Big Mac, amphetamines, and Diet Coke, he would be like, Rosie O'Donnell stinks, and that was it. And he would send tweet. It's funny. But then he becomes the president and he has there's like actual consequences to stuff that he does. It's like, whatever. Okay, so there's that. And then there's also, as you guys see this on Sunday afternoon, he like randomly went on this tirade on True Social where he was like, I will approve a new stadium for the Commanders if they change their name back to the Redskins. He's like, I would suggest that the Cleveland Guardians do the same thing and they change their name back to the Indians. And then he said, make Indians great again. #MEGA. Okay. So he's just completely run out of material. He has no idea what to talk about now. If Trump did the Washington Commanders and Cleveland Guardians thing that he's doing right now, if he did this like 3 years ago, I think it could have played. If he was still the president, if he was the president when this shit was going on, which I don't remember if he was. I don't remember when the Commanders officially changed. Like when they went from the Redskins to the football team. I think the Guardians went to the Guardians from the Indians, I think during Biden. So I don't really remember the timeline on this. I think this could have had legs if Trump was in office. Maybe it was, and I'm not making who cares? And that's the take. Honestly, that's the take. I don't care. What do I care about? What have I been watching lately? I watched The Studio on Apple TV. Really good. I thought it was really funny. A lot of nasal exhale laughs. Mostly just like, I'm sorry, what did I say? A lot of nasal exhale laughs? Yeah, it's mostly that. There are a couple like, there are a couple actual like real laughs. It's just, if you don't know what it is, it's just Seth Rogen. He's the head executive at what am I trying to say? He's the head executive at like a movie company, Continental Studios. And he gave an anecdote during I'm not going to spoil anything in the show. He gave an anecdote during the press run for this show where he was like, I have a very close friend of mine who's an executive at a film company. And he told me one time that he grew up his entire life loving movies and now his job is to ruin them because of the decisions that you have to make and the shit that you have to green light and the shit that you have to kill and all this stuff. And I think that sentiment is very much reflected in Seth Rogen's character in the show. And it's a funny show. The first episode's like 45 minutes, but then after that, episodes are like 25 to 35 minutes. It's great. It's so easy and dumb. You can just turn your brain off, and it's paced really well. They do a lot of one takes and shit like that. It's a really, really funny show. I watched Dune Part 1 and Part 2 like last week. I just rewatched those. Part 1 is just, it's after all of the interesting shit happens in the first like 45 minutes of the movie. And then the next like 2 hours, I just think are kind of a drag. The second one is just one of the best movies that's ever been made, literally ever. So good. And then I really wanted to get into the show. What is it, Dune Awakening? Or no, is that the video game? Dune Prophecy? Whatever the show on HBO Max is. Because there's an actress in it, Jessica Barden, that I really want to see how she is in the show. And I was just really into the Duneverse, I was like, okay, well, here's some more Dune IP. Like, let me check this out. The first episode's an hour, 14 minutes. Fuck off. No, I reject it. Now I'm not watching it. You can get away with, like, maybe an hour flat, but I have to really care about the show. Like, Succession could have 6-hour episodes, and I'd be like, yep, sign me up. 45 minutes is like really where I just think that has to be the sweet spot. I just think that these streamers these days are just so disrespectful in considering the user's time. But clearly people watch these shows, so maybe I'm just being a stickler about something and once again fighting nobody. So I got about 30 seconds into that and saw it was an hour 14 minutes. I was like, well, this isn't for me. And then speaking of the Dune video game, honestly, what have I been playing lately? Well, when I get the way that I have been the last week and I'm not good, and I'm just like trying to like escapism to the max, I just devote all of my creativity and my energy to like one game, and I fixate on it. And then every time I play, it's like an episode, and then like a TV episode or something, and then my time in between sessions, I'm just like jonesing because I'm thinking about like narratively what's going to happen in the next time that I play, like what am I going to do? What's my character going to be doing? So what have I been playing? Well, the Dune game just looks a little too complicated for me, and I don't think I'm going to really ever get into it. It's just not mindless enough for me, but it looks fun. I beat the Oblivion remaster. That was a good time. I had fun with that. It did scratch the itch for like better looking Skyrim. And then I beat that and was like, well, what if I played Skyrim? And so I did that for a little bit. And I have a world that's on like the survival difficulty. And I don't fight anybody. I don't do anything. I live in Whiterun and I chop wood all day. And I make an honest living, and sometimes I go fishing, and rarely I'll go hunting, but not really. And that's it. I just am like a sim, and I chop wood, and I sell it, and I chop wood, and I sell it, and I do that for an hour. That's it. That's me playing Skyrim these days. And then I got bored of that, believe it or not, after like 3 weeks. And then I'm playing Starfield again. I'm back, baby. I'm back in Starfield. And this is all outside of like me passively playing FIFA and, you know, managerial careers and whatnot. Yeah, I'm back in Starfield. It's just I just really like the game. Even if I can acknowledge that it's 6 miles wide and 1 inch deep, somehow you just don't have that much to do. Shipbuilding is it's so much fun. Visually, it's just such a gorgeous game. I did also mod the shit out of it, so I put I have Tatooine is in the game now. I can go kill a bunch of Tusken Raiders. I've been doing that a lot, just killing everybody. Trading with Jawas and wearing like stormtrooper outfits and shit like that. I have Star Wars guns. No lightsabers, which is too bad. And then I was like, nah, this is dumb. And then I downloaded Dune mods, so I'm literally Paul Atreides. I'm literally Lisan Al-Gaib. That's been really fun. And yeah, Starfield. Although it is bullshit. I don't think Bethesda cares about this game at all. It's been out for almost 2 years, and there's a quest that I haven't been able to progress. I've done New Game Plus like twice, so I've done it before, but on the current save that I'm on, I can't progress this. It's soft locked, and they just, for at least a year, I have had this save, and they still haven't fixed the quest. Still haven't fixed it. I've looked up. Oh, hey, Reddit. I got a soft lock on this, like, Aquila Rangers, when you're, like, with the cowboy quest line, shit like that. There's a soft lock. I looked it up, and Reddit gave me 8 solutions. I tried all of them, and none of them. Bethesda, fix your fucking game. When, like, as a development studio, like, your charm is that your games don't fucking work. How annoying is that? Starfield, like, mostly works. 95% works at this point. But there's some shit, like, I don't care. None of this shit matters. I don't care. If you're listening to this on Spotify, actually, let me pull this up. Sorry. I asked you guys in the last episode about the dumbest thing that you ever bought. And we got actually some really good responses, and I want to highlight a couple of them here. I said the dumbest thing that you've ever bought. I said it has to actually be expensive, though, and like over $100, right? Some of you guys did not participate in that. You just like named a dumb thing that you bought. I was like, that's not $100. Isaac said, I got back to college and moved into a house my junior year and wanted to get that night's UFC fight. I had to get a year of ESPN Plus and then forgot that fights on there were pay-per-view. By the end of the night, I was out almost $200 and watched like 3 fights, maybe. The only thing I got is that ESPN Plus had some decent basketball and baseball games that I could watch late at night while working at the hotel I was at, which normally I wouldn't be able to. That's a tough pill to swallow. So you have to pay for ESPN Plus and then it's still pay-per-view? That's bullshit. Is that why Dana White is so rich? That seems like a fucking scam. Drew said, I used to do door-to-door roofing sales. Terrible job, is what you said. And in that line of work, it is notorious for just kind of throwing you out there without the best training. Early on in my journey, I was struggling a lot. So I bought an online sales course for $1,000, thinking I would easily make my money back by using the skills I learned in the course to produce more sales. I'd never finished the course and quit that job 3 months later. Brutal. See, that's what I'm talking about there. That's what I'm talking about. There we go. Not to minimize the ESPN Plus thing, because you also got hoed. This one's brutal. But it also stinks because you spent $1,000 because you like bet on yourself, even if at the time you were able to recognize that the job stinks and who cares. $1,000 for a Corsi to finish. That's too bad. True. There was one in here that I wanted to. Oh yeah, this was the one that I wanted to finish. These were all good, by the way. Well, actually, this one was I bought a Burberry Supreme box logo, but I sold it for profit. Nice. Good job. Good for you for getting out while you still could. When I had a pair of OVO 10s, they were the black ones, though, not the white ones. If they were the white ones, I never would have gotten off of them. I damn near couldn't get off the black ones either because nobody fucking wanted them. Because this was at the height of me, like, trading sneakers. Like, I was in, this was, I don't know, like a little under 10 years ago, like maybe 8 years ago. I was, like, for real in Facebook groups, like, all over Michigan, all over the country. There was a YouTuber, Scoop208, and he would make YouTube videos of sneaker trades that people would do. He was the mediator. And so you would, if you were in one of his Facebook groups, you and the guy you were trading with would send your shoes that you're trading to this guy. And if you put a little extra fee on there, he would like record it for a YouTube video and he would like give his own opinion on like who won or who lost. But the point of sending it to him and using him as the mediator was that he would, A, legit check the shoes, and B, if you could get somebody to send them to him and you also agreed to send them to him, you were able to know that neither of you were fucking around and nobody was going to get scammed. You know what I mean? Because if you got scammed, then you would just get your shoes back because Scoop would send them back to you, right? So one time I did use him, but that wasn't the trade so the OVO 10s, I could not for the life of me get off of them. The other problem, was that this was at the time that Jordan and their fucking racket released like city edition, like Jordan 10s. So there was a Chicago pair, which were basically just the double nickels. There was a Charlotte pair, I think. There was a New York pair. And the New York pair was literally just the OVO 10s. It was the same thing. To the untrained eye, they were indistinguishable. If you don't look at the soles and you don't look at like the insole inside of the shoe and you actually see the owl, you're motherfucking gonna be like, oh, those are just the New York 10s. No, they're the OVOs, right? So the trade I ended up doing was, oh my God, I don't remember how this went down. Oh, right. I traded the OVO 10s and a pair of wool 12s. You guys remember the wool 12s? I couldn't get off of those either. For a pair of the closing ceremony Jordan 11 lows. You remember those? It was just the gold patent leather in the middle. And they were and man, I wore the shit out of those. Loved those. Having a pair of 11 lows, I was so happy with it. I think like monetarily, I did lose out on that. The wool 12s were not going for anything. I don't think they were even going for retail. The OVOs, I was just like, I fucking need to get rid of these. I can't look at these anymore. Because they weren't the white ones, and I wanted the white ones. I don't remember how I came into those, though. I don't remember what I traded. I don't think that was I don't remember how I got those. What was another trade that I did? I think I've talked a little bit about this before. I traded a pair... I traded a pair of Yeezys. But this was at the height. So the V2s had just come out. The ones with the stripe, you know? Those had just come out. We had just moved off of the 350s. I remember I had a pair of fake Oxford tans, and I wanted to get a pair of fake 750s so bad, but the fakes just weren't good enough at the time. So at the time, there was only, the 950s, the 750s, but those were, like, impossible to come by. The Turtle Doves, the Pirate Blacks, the Oxford Tans, and the Moon Rocks. Then the V2s came out, and it was like the crack had been redistributed amongst the American population. Well, and abroad. And I got a pair, the Oreos, so just the black with the white stripe. I bought them and this was at a time where I could legit check like a motherfucker, Yeezy specifically. I was really good at, there are these little circles that would be on the bottom, like on the actual boost on the sole. And that was a really easy tell. The stitching right up the middle of the shoe, I could tell you if it was fake or not just by looking at it. This was when I was really in my bag. I couldn't do that anymore, right? Sure, some of you out there probably can. And so I got those. Retail for those was what, like $220 or something, somewhere around there. I got them for like $275. I couldn't believe it. I got them on fucking eBay. Someone got. I don't know how that happened. I don't remember how that happened, but they were real. And then I'm like, well, I got them for the cheap. Like, do I just keep these? And then a trade came across my desk. So the Space Jams, the 11s had just re-released. So whenever that, I think that was like 2018 maybe. The Space Jams had just re-released, but the patent leather sucked. It was so bulky, and there was also a peak in like every single pair of the leather, and I couldn't get over how ugly they looked. And like modern 11s compared to even the Space Jams, the modern Space Jams, when they really released those again, like 2018, if you compare those to the 72 and 10s, the leather is different in the midsole. It's different, and it was ugly. They also overproduced the shit out of those Space Jams. And so what we thought was going to be like a holy shit, how am I supposed to get my hands on these shoes, ended up turning into a, if you wanted them, you got them for retail. So my logic was, if I trade, the trade that I had on the table was a 9.5 and a 10 in the Space Jams. I get both pair. This guy gets my Yeezys. This is what I did the Facebook group for, actually. This is where I sent them to that guy, to the mediator. And because, you know, people with Yeezys at the time, it was like, if you scam me, I'm going to fucking kill you. And so I was like, yeah, I totally get it. And so that's why I paid a little extra and we did the mediator, right? And it comes back to me and I get these Space Jams. My logic was, even if I sell these for retail, both of these pair, I make more money than I would have if I just held on to the Yeezys. Because I could have flipped them for like $500, but if I sell, how did this work? I don't remember how this math worked. How it ended up working. I sold the one pair of Space Jams for $250 and I sold the other for $350. Got their fucking ass. Fucking got them. Got them. Stonks. That stonks, ladies and gentlemen. Sold a pair of Ferrari 14s for like $450. Again, this was like 10 years ago. I was hustling my motherfucking ass off because it was just fun. I just liked doing it. And it was Christmas time. So I felt so bad because it was definitely somebody's mom that was just like getting them for their kid. And they must have just found mine. And I just felt so bad because they were not going for $450 at the time. The Ferraris were a big, like, no, they were a medium deal, but they were not $450. Maybe, I don't know who knows what any of these fucking shoes are at now. As far as I'm concerned, all of this shit is tanked. Who cares? Yeah, okay. I had more that I wanted to read, but on Spotify, I guess I also don't have a question. I ended up just kind of hijacking that and doing my own thing. So sorry about that, but I do love you guys. Apple Podcast. What's up? What's up? If you're watching this on YouTube, sure, leave a like, subscribe, nice little comment for the algorithm. Make sure to keep primary control in check. And I will catch you guys in the next one.